Hello fellow readers and readeresses. Today marks exactly 1 year since I posted my first YouTube video. It is a cringe fest of me awkwardly holding the microphone and trying to be funnier than I actually am. It is really embarrassing to watch, and I was thinking of privating it, but then honestly, who cares? And I thought it would be a great idea to signify this moment and celebrate it with you by doing a Q&A session, the first ever on this channel, answering some of your questions which you were so kind to send to me. I asked for these questions with a post on my channel like 2 weeks ago, I think, and there were two options. One was to comment your question under the post. The other one was to fill it anonymously in a table. And let me tell you, the questions in the table were very few, but all of them were very, very special. Let's put it that way. So I'm gonna answer all the questions that I received first from the comments under the post, and next we're gonna dive into the magical world of the anonymous questions. I have them all right here on my computer. First, I wanted to thank everybody who sent a question because I am not a very interesting person, and seeing your interest in me is very, very, very flattering. I'm very touched. Ugh, that sounded weird. Moving on. I will put the name/handle of the person who asked the question here in this corner. Let's go. Question number 1. I'm sorry if I missed it, but what is your name? LOL. I realize I haven't mentioned it, or maybe I've mentioned it once or twice only in my channel. It never really seemed important. My name is Sylvia. Hi, nice to meet you. Question number 2. How many books do you have? That is a very good question. So let me look through the table where I write every single book that I purchase or receive from somewhere. Oh, goodness. Okay, as of right now, I own 547 books, and that doesn't count the duplicates of the books that I have. So if I have more than one copy of a certain book, of which I have quite a few, I don't count them in this table. So way over 550 books. Now, I know that's not that much. I know people who own much more than these, and I'm not ashamed of the number that I own. I am ashamed of the number of those that I have read, because the number that I haven't is way bigger. And the thing is that I acquired the majority of these books within the past 2 to 3 years since I moved in this apartment, because before that I was moving much more often and it wasn't possible. I didn't even have the space to maintain a big library. I'm already out of space here, so it is a very significant number that I have acquired somewhat recently, but I have currently stopped purchasing books so that I can catch up with the reading of the ones that I already own, which will take quite a while, I think. The next few questions are from Teresa from Sweet Tea Reads, which is one of my favorite booktube channels here. I highly advise you to go check her out. So question number 3. What country were you born in, and what country do you live in right now, if different? I was born in Bulgaria, and I currently live in Bulgaria. I used to live in France for several years, but I returned back here in 2021 because I wanted to be closer to my family, and I am very, very happy with that decision, even though France is a very beautiful country. Question number 4. Do you have any siblings? I do, in fact, have 2 brothers. One of them is slightly older than me, and the other one is slightly younger than me. I used to hate having brothers, and now I am so happy I have them. Question number 5. What is your favorite animal? Oof. I don't know. I like animals in general. I like cats, I like dogs, I like fish, I like birds, I like foxes. They're fascinating. I don't know if you've seen videos of foxes playing. They're hilarious. Oh, and there's this thing that I recently discovered whilst Googling stupid things. Least weasel. They're these tiny little creatures that hunt mice and rats and rabbits and sometimes even birds. They're just such ferocious little beasts, and they're like the cutest little thing I have ever seen in my life. Just with these tiny little faces, and they're like tiny, adorable, and so feisty. I wouldn't get one in my house, but I think they're just adorable and I admire them from a distance. So I guess that's my favorite animal, least weasel. Question number 6. Who is your favorite actor/actress? I don't know. I don't watch that many movies or TV shows because I have this thing where I fall asleep 15 minutes into anything I sit down to watch. I'm a little bit better with TV shows, but with movies, I am absolutely terrible. Although, this is gonna sound super weird, I have a thing for Clint Eastwood, especially young Clint Eastwood, and that thing that he does in movies where he squints into the sun with this face, you know, with the cigar here. you know, squinting disapprovingly in the distance. Yeah, that's my thing. I don't know what to tell you. Question number 7, paperback or hardback? Oh, paperback any day. Now, hardback are usually a little bit higher quality and they're more durable, and they do look nice when you put them on your shelves, but for holding and reading, hardback 100%. Question number 8. Ideal length of a novel, what seems to be your average length of the books you read this year? I haven't really thought about this, but I do tend to dislike shorter books, and that is mostly because of the genre that I predominantly read is fantasy. And in this type of books, you need to develop not only the characters and the plot, but also the world, set the scene. And I find that shorter books tend to not do that great. Obviously, there are exceptions to this rule, but in the general case, the shorter books that are fantasy don't spare enough time to develop properly one or all of those 3 elements that are very important to me. So I do tend to prefer longer books, but as to the average number of pages, I haven't really thought of that. So let me calculate it really quick. Okay, so my average page count for this year is 522. So I do tend to air out more onto the side of longer books. Question number 9, biggest buzzword. I am not sure I understand the question entirely. Maybe what is my biggest buzzword when it comes to books? What would make me pick up a book? I will interpret the question that way, and if I'm wrong, Teresa, please leave me a comment and I will make sure to correct my answer accordingly. I tend to gravitate towards books that, well, obviously are fantasy, but contain words like storm and shadow. And I think I'm not the only one. Those are very popular fantasy words. But I do like darker themed books. So shadow always kind of reminds me of that. And when it comes to storm, I have such a soft spot for storms. The anticipation of them and the violence of them are fascinating to me. And so when I read storm, my eye is immediately turning towards that book. So I guess storm and shadow in this case. Question number 10. A trope you hate. Oof, love triangles. I absolutely detest it. I can't stand love triangles, not in life, not in books, not ever. It pisses me off every single time, and to me, it always takes away from the story. To me, if you like 2 people, which happens, that can happen, obviously, you need to make a choice. That's it. It's true that we cannot control our emotions. It just happens to us, and we can be attracted to more than one person, but we do have a free will, and you need to make a choice whenever the situation arises to you. You need to make a conscious choice. This is going to be the one, and then go with them, because staying in this limbo and hovering between 2 people is cowardly and selfish. If you truly like or love these 2 people, you wouldn't want to keep them insecure and unsure as to what is going on. It is terrible to break somebody's heart, but it's better to do it straight up than just keeping them on the hook for your own convenience because you like the idea of those 2 people being after you and you don't want to let go. But that is a selfish thought, and every time I see it in a book, it just ruins my enjoyment of the book. I have never read a book where I liked the love triangle. There are some books that do it better than others, but I have never liked this particular trope, and if I liked a book that features it, it is in spite of it that I liked it, not because of it. So yeah, that's the one. Question number 11. What inspired you to start your channel? Well, Christy, back in 2021, I moved into this city where I currently live, where I didn't know anybody and I didn't have any friends. I've never lived here before. I never even visited here before. And because I am the kind of person that I'm not much for going out and socializing with people, I prefer to stay here and enjoy my books. It's a little bit difficult for me to make friends. I think I'm very easygoing once you get to meet me, but getting me to go and meet people is a little bit of a hustle. And so I ended up reading all of these lovely books and having nobody to discuss them with but my boyfriend, who is not much of a reader. His interests lie elsewhere. And so I thought, hey, why not start a YouTube channel? Even if only a few people watch it, I'd still have more people than now to discuss my books with. And yeah, I am really, really happy with that choice. Question number 12. What's your favorite place that you have ever traveled to? That is a lovely question. I haven't traveled much because I am afraid of flying. And so getting on a plane is always a hustle for me. I mean, I do it whenever I have to, but I'm always uncomfortable doing it. So I have traveled mostly in Europe. Back in 2019, I traveled to Vevey, which is a town on Geneva Lake in Switzerland. And this is one of the most beautiful and special places that I have ever been to. It's just so gorgeous, so peaceful, so nice. I highly recommend it if you have the opportunity. I even considered moving to Switzerland for a period of time, but moving there is a little bit complicated. There's a lot of documentation surrounding it, and honestly, I'd rather be closer to my family, but it's a gorgeous, amazing, very special place. Question number 13 is from Michaela from Cat and Mac, which is one of my favorite booktube channels. Do you have a favorite place to read? Yes, I do, and it's right here on this couch. It's because I like to be super comfortable when I'm reading, kind of half laying down, and this couch provides the perfect opportunity for that. I also have these big panoramic windows here so that I can see everything that's going on outside. So there you go. Question number 14. Do you like to read while listening to music? Yes, I very much do like that, especially if I'm reading a fantasy book or something that's more atmospheric. I like to put specific music to get me into that atmosphere. It's just super enjoyable. I don't need it, but I definitely enjoy it. Question number 15. Why do you love to read? You know, Mac, life hasn't always been easy, especially when I was a kid. I grew up in a small town in a very poor family. There was not a lot of opportunities, neither for entertainment, nor for even big dreams, because the world was so small. And reading has always given me the opportunity to kind of escape that, even though I loved where I grew up and I still love it there. Reading is a way to discover new things, to live another life. I'm a very boring person, not very adventurous. And so through books, I get to participate in a lot of adventures, and it's different than watching a story on TV, for example, because there you just see what is prepared by other people for you, and you get to see their vision for it. When you're reading a book, you actually get to participate because it's your brain that's conjuring the images and the environment. It's a way of escaping to a more magical world, I guess. Question number 16. Favorite trope? Okay, so I've always loved the quest when a person is uprooted from the relative comfort of their day-to-day life, and then they have to go and explore the world and participate in adventures. And as I already mentioned, I'm not a very adventurous person, so through these books I get to experience that, and I really, really love it. Question number 17. Do you reread books? And if so, what is your go-to comfort read? And Forrest also asked, how often do you reread books? Do you have any that are evergreen that you think you will continue to reread for years to come? The answer is yes, I do reread books quite a lot. Back in my 20s, my entire 20s went with me simply rereading my favorite books, and the one that I can think that I have reread the most is the Harry Potter series, especially the last book. I think I have individually reread that one more than 10 times, and it's one of my favorite series, honestly, and I will continue rereading it probably until my last day. I know that there are some controversies recently with the author and whatnot. Honestly, I'm not just gonna throw away my favorite story now because of something that is completely separate from it. And besides that, I also have a few others that I reread quite often. Like there's this book by Hector Malo. The book in French is Sans Famille. In English it was Nobody's Boy or No One's Boy. It's a lovely book. I read in my childhood in Bulgarian, and then I read it in English, and then I read it in French. This is phenomenal story. I highly recommend it. I also very much enjoy reading Laura Ingalls Wilder books, Little House in the Big Woods, Little House in the Prairie, and all the rest from the series. I think they're lovely. Anne of Green Gables, I can eternally reread this one. Pride and Prejudice, obviously. A Song of Ice and Fire. This series, I don't think I'll ever stop discovering new things about it. Now the Stormlight Archive is also entering this zone of evergreen for me. I don't know, there are so many, and I'm gonna miss so many, but I'm definitely rereading. I find it such an enjoyable experience. Even though you already know what the story is, I find going back to these cozy places and these emotions kind of like going home. It's always there for you and always comforting. Question number 18. If you could live in any bookish world / universe, which book / series would you choose? Oof, great question, Mac. I'm only thinking of favorite series where the world is really, really bad for its inhabitants. So while I enjoy reading about them, it would probably be terrible to live there. Middle Earth, obviously, from the Lord of the Rings series, is the one that comes to mind first. But, you know, I love storms, and I love somewhat desert spaces, and I love companions. So I think I'm gonna choose Roshar from the Stormlight Archive, where the high storms are raging. We have these shattered plains, which are similar to desert areas, and we have Spren. So yeah, definitely Roshar from the Stormlight Archive. Question number 19. If you had to pick, what is your number one favorite book of all time? That is a very cruel question. It's kind of like trying to pick your favorite child. But for the sake of this question, because it was clearly stated, one, I'm gonna go with Anne of Green Gables. Lucy Maud Montgomery just knows how to speak to my heart. Personally, every time I read the books from the Anne of Green Gables series, I turn back into a little girl. Like, I feel the exact same emotions, the exact same thoughts are going through my head. I can see myself there. I am back there. And to me, this is so very, very special. Highly recommend Anne of Green Gables if you haven't read it. It is forever in my heart. One of my favorite books ever. Question number 20. Which do you prefer? First person or third person? Third person, always and forever. Sometimes I would pick a book, I will see that it's a first person, and I will drop it. There are some books that are written in first person that I love, obviously. I'm not completely against it, but if I had to choose, I would always pick third person. Don't know why, it just feels better and more natural to me. And question number 21. Outside of reading, what are your favorite hobbies? Not that many, really. I like cycling. I like cooking very much. Oh my god, I'm such a boring person. I enjoy drawing. I used to be better. I haven't practiced much recently, but it's always been something that I felt really good doing. I think that's about it. And that concludes the questions that were asked as comments under the post. Now, it is time to go to the anonymous question table, or as I like to call it, the table of violence, because every single person that has asked questions, and there are very few, I think only 5 in that table, but every single one of those people has chosen violence straight up. Regardless, I promise to answer all the questions fully and honestly, and I'm gonna do that. So let's start with question number 1, which was asked by a person with the fake name Curious with a Q, that I find hilarious. And the question is, do you lie about how many books you read? The short answer is no. I do not lie about how many books I read every single month. And to be honest, when I first read this question, I was a little bit irked. I was like, how dare you ask me this question? Like, what can I possibly gain by lying about the number of books that I'm reading? But then I thought about it once I calmed down a little bit. And there is this thing that we humans have, that we would like to represent ourselves to be better than we actually are, that we're doing better than we actually are doing. And especially nowadays with social media, there is this trend of us trying to represent ourselves as more put together and more happy and successful than we actually are. And sometimes not even intentionally, because we tend to put out there only the most noteworthy moments of our lives. It is by omission that we are misrepresenting ourselves, because you couldn't possibly give all the context of your entire life with a string of several posts, right? And there are those people that are intentionally misrepresenting themselves, either by misrepresenting the truth in their posts or outright lying, be it for clout or just for the feeling of being appreciated and their posts being liked and shared for attention. I understand that this is part of human nature, and with social media it's way easier to do that. With that being said, the nature of my channel is such that I put out there my opinion about every single book that I read, be it in my monthly wrap-ups or in a specific dedicated book review video. I put my opinion out there for every single book that I read, and I wouldn't feel comfortable doing that unless I have actually read the book and am intimately familiar with every single detail of this book, because very often my opinions differ from the popular opinion, and that is not by design, that is by the virtue of how I felt about the book that I read. And so I can understand where your question is coming from, but in this case, no, I do not lie about the number of books that I read. Question number 2 is asked by a completely anonymous person that didn't provide a fake name, and the question is, who is a booktuber you hate? I told you they chose violence. So, okay, I don't have a booktuber that I hate, because I don't tend to watch people whom I disliked. If I saw a video and I disliked something about the person that was on it, I will just move on. And that doesn't give me opportunity to remember that person for long enough to hate them. With that being said, there is this lady, I think she's Canadian, I'm not entirely sure, white lady, long hair, and I don't remember the name of her channel because I only watched that one video and I dropped halfway through it. She was talking about a book that she read that month and very much disliked, but the way she did it was to attack the people that actually liked the book. And she did it with such a condescending and arrogant tone. The worst thing is that in this case, I actually agreed with her opinion on the book, but I really disliked the manner in which she expressed her dislike and the way that she attacked the people who could have potentially liked the book. Just, it really irks me when people do that. So I don't know if that really answers the question, but this is the one person on Booktube that I remember really rubbing me the wrong way. Obviously, I haven't watched any of her videos ever since. Question number 3 is asked by a platonic question. And the question is, are you single? Platonic question, and no, I am not single. I have a boyfriend whom I live with. Question number 4 is asked by a crazy cat lady, and the question is, are you a crazy cat? Wait, no. Are you a crazy cat lady? Well, I have 2 cats, and I am a lady. I don't know if that's enough to constitute a crazy cat lady, but those are the facts, and I let you do with them whatever you will. And question number 5 is from Daisy. I really like how this is spelled. What is the most embarrassing thing you feel comfortable sharing? Okay, Daisy, I really liked how you asked that question. What is the most embarrassing thing? Oh God. The amount of embarrassing things that came to mind is really disturbing. Okay, here is something very embarrassing. I am 36 years old. That's not the embarrassing part, mind you. I am 36 years old and I still don't have a driver's license. I am currently in the process of acquiring one, going to courses with people who are young enough to be my own children. Good news is I'm doing better than all of them, but still. That is slightly embarrassing. I've always wanted a driver's license, but when I was around 18 years old, when you're allowed to get a driver's license here in Bulgaria, I couldn't afford it. And then I was working very hard. It was never a priority. Then I was living in France. And so time went by and I never got it. And now finally I have the perfect combination of time, financial opportunity, and real motivation to get it. And with that question, we will close the first Q&A session on this channel. I hope it was at least mildly interesting to you. I don't think my answers were so world-shattering for sure, but if you stayed this long and watched this entire video, you need to be proud of your attention span. Really. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you. I really appreciate you being here, being part of this community, talking to me about books. You will never know how much this means to me and how happy you have made me. Have a great day, and I'll see you soon in another video.